Why is main static? Why can't I call my method without an object? Let's break it down. So in today's video, we are fixing one of Java's biggest beginner headaches, static versus non-static. This is why your code sometimes says non-static method cannot be referenced from a static context. I don't know if you have gotten this error before, but if you haven't, that means you'll be following this tutorial page by page or pace by pace. So now, what is static? Like the ISS robot, satellite you can see there, static means belongs to a class, not the object. Static means belongs to the class, not the object. So you don't need to create an object to use it. How do we know this? Example static method. Class math utils. Okay? Static int square, meaning we're looking for a function to create a square root. Now notice we say int of x. Now square root return x times x. So we're returning something. That's why we're having int. If not, we would have had a void there. So we're using static there because there is a class. Okay. So static belongs to the class, not the object. Now, if you come down below, you can see the next line of code says public class main, public static void. Now, this method is not returning anything. That is why it's called a void. So that is the use of the static there to tell you that this next method belongs to the class main. So have you seen why we always write public static void main, string and args? I've explained before why we write string and args. Strings and args are parameters to the main function. Okay, so that is why we write public static void. So static means it belongs to the function, to the class main, and void means it's not returning any parameters. Then main is just the name of the method. Then string and args are the arguments. So we're still going deep into this. Right, so let's talk more about static. So imagine you have a blueprint for a house. That blueprint is like a Java class. Now, static is like having a permanent feature built into the blueprint itself. For example, let's see a blueprint image. Okay, so in this blueprint image, just take a look at the image while I explain. So, for example, the number of floors of the house you always have is written in the blueprint. And from here, you can see it's a one-story house with a bunker or a basement and also an attic in the roof. Then it belongs to no matter how many actual houses you built from that blueprint, it belongs to the blueprint itself, not to any specific house. So if the blueprint says 2 floors, every house built from it will have 2 floors. You can access the information directly from the blueprint without needing to build a house first. I don't know if you're getting me. So if I'm building a blueprint and 3 people wants to use the same blueprint for a particular house, then everything remains the same no matter how many times the blueprint gets used. So non-static, sometimes called instance, is like the furniture you put inside each house you build. Each house can have its own set of furniture and can be different in each house. For example, one house might have a blue sofa while another has a red one. These things belong to each individual house, not the blueprint itself. To know what furniture your house has, you need to build the house. So now imagine you're in an estate. Most estates have the same building pattern. Now, if you are passing through the estate, you see that the patterns just remain the same. Now, that is what we call static. Now, the non-static is when you go into each houses, you won't find the same furniture or the same furniture arrangement in each houses. The furniture arrangement in each houses would be different from the next. So that is what we mean by static and non-static. So in Java, static things like variables or methods declared with the static keyword belong to the class itself. There's only one copy of them, no matter how many objects. Like our house, you can create from that class. You can access them directly using the class name. Again, static things, that is variables or method declared with the keyword static, belong to the class itself, no matter how many objects. Now, next is the non-static or instance. These are things that belong to each individual object of the class. Each object gets its own copy. You need to create an object first to access these things. So now, these things can be your name in the person class, the name, the age. All right. So think of it this way: static belongs to the whole neighborhood, which is your class, while non-static belongs to each individual house, which is the object. So static belongs to the class and non-static belongs to each individual house, which is the object. So when creating objects from classes, those are non-static. While when creating a class, it's static. So let's see a coded example of this. So in our IntelliJ IDE, let's see an example of a static code. So now, first of all, we're writing a class. Let's write a class called math utils, and inside this we just want to say static int. Okay, so I'm showing you how this or what the difference is now. Square UARE. Okay, now int x, then fine. So now notice we are using the static keyword, meaning this method belongs to this class, mathUtil. That is why we're using the static keyword. So it belongs to this class. Initially, at the earlier stage of making our calculator app, I told you static was there because it doesn't change. Okay, that is true. It is here because it doesn't change and it belongs to the class mathUtils. So I cannot come here now and change this and expect it to work. Okay, because it's static, it's permanent to mathUtil. It doesn't change. Okay, so that is what we mean by a static variable. Now, if I want to call this in our class, all I just say is public, public, then I can say system.out.print. I just call the function maths utils and dot square, and we're taking 5 as the parameter. Right, so okay, if we play this now, then it's compiling. Our answer is 25. Okay, so now this is a static method. This is static. So now this is where we see a non-static method. A non-static method goes something like this. So all I can say now, or let's go through an example called greeter, and this is a class. Now say void say hi, then we can say hi. Right, now all we just need to do, okay, so now we can say greeter g. In here we can create an object of greeter, you see, then we can say greeter dot say hi. So now notice this is a non-static method and you can see hi in the console. is an object. Like I told you before, static belongs to a class. Okay, now let's copy the static method below here. So static belongs to class, but an object doesn't belong to class. Like it's not static, it's just on its own. Now this is the object here. Now since the method is non-static, we create an object from this class, and we can reuse and reuse and reuse. So everything changes in here. So the way we say hi, the way we say hello, the way we say go, what we want to do, sorry, what we want to do can be tweaked, can be changed using constructors. I can make this system.out say something like age, and find, let's do something, int age right here, and we can use a constructor to say greater greater. Yeah, this is a constructor, and we take in int of age. Then we can use this keyword, this dot age equals to age, and we take it in the age here. Now let's say in here we need to pass the age 12, right? So now when I call this function, instead of getting high, I get 12 in my console. Now the same thing happens if I take this as greater 2. I can call 20. Okay, let's do it so you get what I'm saying. So if I take this now as greater 2, I can call 20. So we have 12 and 20 in our console. Okay, new greater. So yeah, greater dot say hi, sorry, greater 2 dot say hi. All right, so now we have 12 and 20 in our console. So what does this mean? This means that objects can be changed. Like unlike classes that are like this, all you just need to do is pass in the parameter to build a new house. Objects are the furnitures. You can change the share, you can change the arrangement. So that is what we mean. So things in non-static classes can change with ease because they are not permanent. They are not constant. That's another word. Then for static, they do not change. They are permanent to the class. So all you need to do is give me my parameter and I'll give you the house. Okay. So give me the cement, give me the sand, and build the house from the blueprint. But do not change the pattern. Why objects are, what furniture do you like to put, or would you like to put in your house? So that is just an illustration I'm using to explain this. So I hope this becomes clearer to you and you're able to understand. Let's go back to our theory slide. Okay, so now static versus non-static. When to use which? So now you know static has to do with classes. Classes that do not require objects. So classes that will never be modified. While non-static is you don't put static to a class if you know you are going to create an object of that class and modify it. Okay, so when the objects are involved, we don't use static. When objects are not involved, we add static to our method name. So now we use static when the method doesn't depend on object data. So the method predefines itself. It doesn't depend on me adding objects to make the method work. So we use static. Then we use non-static when the method uses instance variables or behaviors. Okay, when there's objects, there's variables, there's behaviors, then we don't even put static. So we don't add the static keyword. Okay, so don't go write non-static, static. No, if it's either static or not static. So it's either you write static or you don't write static. Okay, so I just want to make sure this syncs. So static has to do with classes that can that do not depend on object data, meaning we don't create constructors like public static void main. We don't create constructor at all for that. That is permanent. So that is when we use static. Then we don't use static when we are going to edit the constructor, maybe building a car constructor, a car class. Okay, then we don't use static because we're going to edit everything. It depends on objects. Okay, so just let this thing sync, and I will be so happy if this sync. So now, static is equal to class level. Non-static is equal to object level. So this is the least possible I can break this down. So whenever you see static, just know is equal to class level. Then non-static is equal to object level. So static is when it has to do with class and it's permanent. There is no sign of any object around. Then non-static is when you see a class with so many objects. Okay, seeing so many object, new object equals new object. Okay, so when you see things like that, know that it should be a non-static method. Got it? Good. Next video, we're gonna talk about encapsulation, hiding stuff for cleaner, safer code. So please leave a like because I really spent time trying to make this as simple as possible. Also, a sub to the channel would be static or non-static. So in the comment section, just comment static or nah. If you understand, comment static. If you don't, say nah. But if you do, you can just use the two together. Hashtag static or nah. So if this um if this finally clicked for you, please just use the hashtag and make sure you fill up the comment section with the hashtag, or if you are confused, you can just just make the comment section lively. Okay, please, once again, do not insult or curse or look down on anyone that asks a question. Please, if you know the answer, answer, but if you do not know the answer, just leave the question. I will answer the question in the comment section below, and do not feel shy to drop out your comment if you have a question. That is why I'm strictly, or I'm seriously, or I'm just focused on begging people not to curse or call you out in the comment section for asking a question. Okay, so you could feel free to ask any question in the comment section. So that's it for static and non-static. Peace.